the beginning of the 21st century, a group of workers in Moscow drill deep into the ground. Their goal is to reach the geological foundations, because Viktor wants to extract the diamonds buried there. However, this excavation disrupts the city's seismic balance and earthquake activity rapidly increases. A scientist named Alkogolik tries to stop the process, warning that otherwise the city will collapse. But the ambitious businessman Viktor refuses to give up his obsession with diamonds and continues drilling. That is, until the machines stop due to a power outage. A large amount of energy is needed to restart the machine. The only way is to find the nanocatalyst hidden in a secret laboratory established during the Soviet era. Years later, two miners discover this laboratory and find an antique device inside. On the same day, Dmitry, who has just parted ways with his wealthy friend from university, returns home and has dinner with his family. He hears once again that romantic story about how his mother and father met. The next morning, Dmitry wakes up as his little sister enters the room wishing him a happy birthday. He doesn't have a lot of money, but he has a loving family. As he gets ready to go to university, he finds out that his parents have bought him a car as a birthday present. But when he sees the car, he is disappointed, because the car is a much older model than he expected. When Dmitry gets into the Volga, he finds old photographs in the glove compartment. At that moment, he decides not to go to school with this car, because he is afraid his friends will make fun of him. He leaves the car somewhere near the bus stop and is late for class. At the end of the class, Dmitry gets the chance to talk to the famous businessman Viktor. He learns that Viktor built his empire from scratch. When he hears that the man used to be a flower seller, Dmitry decides to follow in his footsteps and starts using his car for flower deliveries. That same day, Viktor goes to the secret laboratory discovered by the excavators. However, Felix tells him that the nanocatalyst is no longer there. Looking at the map, Viktor realizes that the device is inside a Volga car. But the car has already been sold. One morning, before heading out for a flower delivery, Dmitry drops his father off at work. On the way, they witness a robbery. Pavel gets out of the car, stops the thief, and retrieves his bag. After subduing the man, he returns to the car. Dmitry continues driving, but gets angry at his father for making him late for his deliveries. He says they've wasted time by helping a stranger. However, without realizing it, they are being followed by Viktor's men. After the argument, Pavel gets angry, asks him to stop the car, and decides to walk to work. A few minutes later, Dmitry realizes that someone is watching him. He thinks the thief his father beat up is a gang member and panics. While trying to escape, Boris takes a shortcut and corners him. Just as they're about to crash, Dmitry hits the brakes and accidentally activates the car's jet engines. The vehicle takes off, but after hitting a bird, it loses power and starts to fall. Gripping the steering wheel tightly, Dmitry narrowly escapes death. While flying over the city, he loses control and the vehicle starts to spin out. Meanwhile, Boris confirms that the Volga Viktor is looking for is indeed this vehicle. After a brief, panicked flight, Dmitry crashes through the window of a tire warehouse, which cushions the impact and manages to bring the car to a stop. Terrified, he abandons everything, even the flowers in the car, and runs away. The next day, he can't concentrate in class, because the incident he experienced is still vivid in his mind. Wanting to learn about the Volga's past, Dmitry pretends to be a journalist and meets with the people in the photos he found in the glove compartment. From these conversations, he learns that everything began with a crystal extracted from a sample of soil brought back from the moon. Scientists discovered that this crystal could alter the chemical structure of substances, and Roman Sava and his team developed a device that increased fuel energy 1,000,000-fold. They called this device the nanocatalyst, and it was invented by Michael Elizarov, who wanted to make every car capable of flying. After listening to the story, before leaving, Dmitry takes the user manual written by Elizarov from Roman Sava. The booklet contains all the operating instructions for the Volga. Realizing that the vehicle is not ordinary, Dmitry decides to return to the warehouse where he left it. Just then, his boss calls and asks him to collect the undelivered flowers. He agrees because he owes money and says he will work for free. When he gets stuck in traffic, he glances at the manual to avoid wasting time and decides to make deliveries by flying the car. He follows the instructions and lifts the Volga into the air. He lands on rooftops to deliver the flowers. Thanks to his flying car, he finishes all the deliveries in record time. His boss is amazed by this speed. Having earned several weeks' worth of income in just a few days, Dmitry goes out for a stroll in the city in the evening to celebrate his success. The next day in class, he musters up the courage to invite his classmate Nastya to dinner. However, the girl he likes has also caught the attention of his wealthy friend Max. In fact, Nastya has no interest in Max at all. She accepts Dmitry's invitation, and the two of them go to one of the city's most luxurious restaurants. During their conversation, Dmitry says that it's his first time in such a place and that he still lives with his family. Nastya feels relieved when she hears this, because she too comes from a small town and this environment is unfamiliar to her as well. After dinner, Dmitry walks Nastya home. The girl doesn't mind that he doesn't have a car. They stroll around the city together on foot. When they arrive at her house, Nastya gives him a small kiss on the cheek. Dmitry is over the moon with happiness and spends the night wandering around as if he's flying. The next day, he runs into Max at the university. Max is angry because he found out that Dmitry went out to dinner with Nastya. Jealously, he asks if anything happened between them. Dmitry lies to make himself look better and says yes. At that moment, Nastya hears this, slaps Dmitry angrily and walks away. Realizing he made a big mistake, Dmitry is left in shame. That evening, his father calls and asks him to give him a ride home. Dmitry jumps into his car and heads to the stop next to his father's workplace. But before that, Boris finds Pavel and asks who the Volga driver he saw at the same place a few days ago was. Hearing this conversation, Pavel realizes his son is in danger. When he sees Dmitry's car approaching, he throws himself into the open to divert attention elsewhere. At that moment, a car stops and the robber whom Pavel had stopped before gets out. His task is to identify him, but the man says in surprise that he doesn't recognize him. After Boris and his men leave, the robber suddenly attacks Pavel and wounds him with the knife in his hand. Meanwhile, while waiting for his father, Dmitry gets a call from his boss. His boss tells him that he can earn extra money by making night deliveries. Just then, a woman approaches his car and says she found an injured man nearby and asks for help to take him to the hospital. Dmitry refuses, using work as an excuse. He tells her to call an ambulance because he needs to make a delivery. The young man, not knowing that the injured person is his father, tries to call Pavel but gets no answer. Shortly after, an ambulance arrives. When Dmitry, curious, goes outside, he sees that the person lying on the ground is his father. As the rescue team places Pavel's body on the stretcher, they say that he could have been saved if help had arrived in time. Hearing this, Dmitry is frozen in shock. Devastated, he returns home and delivers the painful news to his family. Days go by. Shaken by the pain of his father's death and his own guilt, Dmitry decides to become a different person. One day, he hears a call for help on the police radio. A fire has broken out in a building. This time, without hesitation, he jumps into his flying car and heads to the scene. He sees a child trapped on the 7th floor of the burning building. He breaks the window and rushes inside. He rescues the child. He places the child inside the Volga, takes off, and delivers him to his mother. From that moment on, Dmitry dedicates his life to helping people in order to ease the guilt he feels over his father's death. After a while, the same thief who attacked Pavel this time steals a woman's purse. As he runs through the streets, Dmitry appears from the sky and catches the thief. He returns the purse to its owner. He puts the thief in his car and gives him a lesson he will never forget. Thus, news of this hero who dispenses justice with his mysterious flying car makes the newspaper headlines. Over time, Dmitry and his car become known among the public as Black Lightning. At the university, everyone talks about this hero. Dmitry, however, is worried that his identity will be revealed. One evening when he comes home, he checks the social media account he created under the name Black Lightning. There, he sees a message from Nastya. The young woman wrote that she was impressed by the hero's actions. Dmitry messages with her for a while. Then he receives a new message from an anonymous account. The message says that there is a major robbery happening in the city center. Dmitry springs into action immediately. But in reality, this is a trap set by Viktor. He has planned to lure Black Lightning out by staging a fake police chase. When Dmitry arrives at the scene, he is hit by a missile and almost crashes, but he manages to stop the car in time. Shortly after, Boris approaches. Just as he's about to be targeted a second time, Dmitry restarts the Volga and takes off. However, instead of escaping, he decides to turn back and take revenge. He catches the enemy vehicle, tosses it into the sky with its occupants, and leaves the car on the roof of a building. The next day, Boris tells Viktor what happened and says that it's impossible to catch Black Lightning, because this vehicle is more powerful than all the others. Upon this, Viktor orders that the scientists who designed the Volga be found. His plan is to hire them and have them build a new flying vehicle. On the surface, a second Black Lightning will be created to protect the city. However, Parapelkin explains that it is impossible to produce a new nanocatalyst. Elizarov, on the other hand, suggests an alternative energy source. This energy will allow the new vehicle to stay airborne for several hours. During the final exam at the university, Dmitry notices that Nastya is unable to answer the questions. He becomes worried about her, because if Nastya fails, she will have to return to her hometown. As the exam is being handed in, Dmitry makes a sudden decision and swaps his paper with Nastya's. This way, Nastya passes, but he himself fails the class. When the results are announced, Nastya is surprised but happy. But soon after, she learns that Dmitry has failed. Nastya immediately goes to Dmitry to thank him. This gesture melts the ice between them. Nastya forgives him and they grow close again. As they walk together, Dmitry suggests spending New Year's Eve together. Nastya agrees. After a while, they part ways. While Nastya is looking at clothes in a shop window, Dmitry gets into his car. At that moment, he notices a huge chunk of ice about to fall on the girl. He immediately takes off, shatters the ice to save her, and quickly leaves the scene. He leaves a bouquet of flowers on the ground. Coincidentally, those flowers were sent to Nastya by Max. Seeing Max's name on the card, Nastya believes that Black Lightning is actually Max and goes to talk to him. Max realizes this misunderstanding, but since he enjoys the attention, he decides to keep up the act. When Dmitry returns home, his mother is busy with New Year's decorations. Dmitry says that he has invited a girl to spend New Year's with his family. Hearing this, his mother gets emotional and brings out an old box. Inside the box is a necklace that her late husband Pavel gave her on the day he said, "I love you." With tears in her eyes, the woman asks him to give this necklace to Nastya. Sometime later, Dmitry finds an old newspaper ad from the time when his parents bought the car. Because of this, he decides to go to the place where the car was towed. When he arrives there, he is stopped by security guards. Then Viktor arrives. The businessman, seeing Dmitry, is surprised and mockingly asks, "So, did you get rich selling flowers?" he asks. At the same time, in the hangar where Black Lightning 2.0 is being produced, Viktor is talking with Felix. Hearing this conversation, the scientist Parapelkin realizes that his boss is lying. Because in reality, Viktor's goal is to regain control of the nanocatalyst so he can continue working in the diamond mine. Parapelkin immediately warns Romantseva and Elizarov. He explains that Viktor plans to destroy the foundations of Moscow by using a giant drilling machine to extract the diamonds beneath the city. He wants to inform the authorities that the city is in great danger. However, the security guards start chasing him. With difficulty, he manages to reach the elevator and gets to the roof. Viktor, on the other hand, decides to use him as bait to lure Black Lightning into a trap. Soon, Parapelkin's cry for help appears on the news channels. Meanwhile, Max says goodbye to Nastya to keep up the lie that he is Black Lightning and disappears, saying he has to go. While he is hiding in the bathroom, Dmitry comes to talk to Nastya. However, since Nastya believes that Max is Black Lightning, she chooses to stay with him. Dmitry wants to prove that this is wrong and stubbornly ignores the cry for help on the news. But soon he realizes that the scientist stranded on the roof will die from the cold. His conscience can't take it. He decides to take action. He leaves the necklace he wanted to give to Nastya on the counter and jumps into his car to head to the scene. Dmitry arrives just in time, rescues Parapelkin, and learns about Viktor's plans from him. The scientist explains that the drilling will cause the entire city to collapse and asks Dmitry for help. Meanwhile, Viktor has boarded the new flying vehicle developed by the scientists. He fires a missile to stop the young hero, then approaches the Volga and enters to steal the nanocatalyst. After seizing the energy core, he sees that Volga has fallen into the lake and that Dmitry is left inside unconscious. He ties up the scientists to prevent them from escaping. Then he attaches the nanocatalyst to the drilling machine and activates the device. Because of the machine, the workers panic and flee. Viktor, on the other hand, jumps into his car and drives away, leaving the three scientists to their fate. Meanwhile, as Nastya holds the necklace Dmitry gave her, she realizes that she is actually in love with him. Even though she thinks Max is Knight Rider, she decides to break up with him when he returns from his fake hero mission. Then she calls Dmitry. At that moment, Dmitry regains consciousness. The inside of his car is filled with water, but he is determined to reach Nastya. He says, "I will find you," and springs into action. After the call ends, Dmitry tries to start the car, but since the nanocatalyst has been removed, the engine doesn't have enough power. At that moment, he remembers a detail from the user manual. There is enough nanofuel in the tank for 30 minutes of flight inside the vehicle. Thanks to this fuel, he restarts the Volga and gets out of the lake safely. Now he has only one goal. Before the city is destroyed, he must get to the hangar and retrieve the nanocatalyst. When he arrives at the facility, he quickly runs to the drilling machine and removes the energy core before the machine finishes its work. Then he frees the scientists. Elizarov plans to combine the two poles of the nanocatalyst and destroy it completely. Meanwhile, watching everything through the security cameras, Viktor learns that Black Lightning is actually Dmitry. He decides to kidnap Nastya and set a trap to get the nanocatalyst back. Dmitry is determined to save the girl he loves. He goes to meet Viktor. He shows that he brought the device, but instead of handing it over, he tells Nastya to jump out of the car. He manages to catch her in midair. At that moment, Nastya learns who Black Lightning really is. Dmitry brings her to a safe place. But immediately after, the enemy's missiles start chasing him. During the chase, Viktor targets the Volga, crashing into buildings in the city and not caring if innocent people get hurt. To escape the fire, Dmitry rushes into a building under construction. However, after an explosion, he is thrown from the vehicle and is about to fall, but at the last moment, he grabs onto the Volga. When Viktor sees Dmitry hanging on with the nanocatalyst in his hand, he waits for him to fall. But Dmitry doesn't give up. He manages to get back into the vehicle and launches the Volga like a rocket into the clouds. Viktor chases after him, but when he leaves the atmosphere, his engine stops and he gets stranded in the vacuum of space. Dmitry, on the other hand, returns to Earth. He opens his parachute and lands safely on the roof of a building. That night, after saving Moscow, Dmitry returns home and continues his life with Nastya,